Hello and welcome. Doug O here, your Success Accelerator, with another training tip to help you move forward to get more of the things that matter most to you. One of the things I find most often when I work with my private clients and students is the thing that mystifies them the most is they say things like, Doug, I've taken so many training classes, I've read a lot of books, and for whatever reason, I just can't seem to get myself to take action. It feels like there's something holding me back. Well, if you've ever felt that way, I want you to introduce you to something called limiting beliefs, and that's what we're going to cover today. So, if you have ever felt like you've beat your head against a wall and you still aren't making any forward progress, quite often you're running smack dab into a limiting belief. And they are the number one barrier that prevent you from creating that abundant, carefree life that you've dreamed about. So let's go over a couple of quick tips that you can utilize yourself to see if you can identify them and do something about it. So first, you need to understand something. How do you know if you may be running into a limiting belief? Well, we live in a world of results, and you're either getting a result you want or a result you don't. So do you want this result? The answer is yes or no. Or you might be getting a result that you don't want. So again, you don't want that. So how do you get a result? Well, you've got to take an action. We call those a behavior. And you're either taking an action or you're not. So what causes you to take action or not? Well, it's an emotion. Have you asked anybody, why did you do that? And they said, well, because I felt like it. A feeling is an emotion. And what causes that you to feel something? Well, it is an idea, belief, thought, or memory in your subconscious mind. So what do you believe? Well, here's some questions you can start asking yourself when you're experiencing a result that you don't want, or perhaps even you can use this when you're experiencing a result you want to find out what you're thinking. But anyway, identifying a limiting belief is what we're talking about today. So what reoccurring stories do I play over and over again in my head that keep me from taking action? You might be an older person that has come out of a career. You might have been retired. You may have been downsized or right-sized. And you might be thinking that you would like to go back into the workforce. And yet there's this story that you keep hearing over and over and over again. And it's keeping you from taking action on that. Like, for example, what thoughts? Well, maybe it might be I'm too old, or I don't have enough training to move forward in this area. Or you might be hearing a saying or a phrase like, well, you can't teach a old dog new tricks. All right. That is a limiting thought as well. Also, how might my standards about what and how things should happen negatively affect me? Perhaps in that example, it's like, well, I've been paying into that damn Social Security all these years, and I shouldn't have to work. This should take care of me. I should have, guess what? You need to learn to deal with what is, okay? And so what standards do you have about what and how things could be negative and affecting you? Take a look at that. And also, are there any rules that you've created that might be limiting your ability to get started right now? All right? What rules? Like, well, I have to have all the classes taken, and I have to have an average score of 93.4, and I have to be in the right color of clothes, and my clothes aren't exactly what I want, so I need to go get a haircut and go shopping. You can get started right now, right? So are there any rules that you've created limiting your ability to get started doing what it is that you want to do? And then here are some questions to help you create new beliefs once you've identified the old limiting belief. What evidence do you have that disproves the limiting belief? All right. You may have a limiting belief. Let's say, for example, that I don't do very well on tests. And what evidence do you have? Well, maybe is there ever a time that you took a test where you did okay? Well, then, all right. So then that disproves it. What's the exact opposite positive way of thinking about this limiting thought pattern? So somebody that might think limiting thoughts, let's say, I don't do well on tests. The exact opposite, it would be, I do well on tests. And you could even expand that to say, when I'm prepared, I do well on tests. What evidence do you have that proves just the exact opposite of this limiting belief? Again, so look for evidence of perhaps when you do well, just like I said, when you have time to prepare, you feel more confident and you do well on the test. Find a time that you did that and you can prove it. Here's a great one. How do other people who hold the opposite belief think? What positive ways of thinking work for that person? Well, you'd have to put yourself in their shoes for just a moment and or find somebody that holds the opposite belief and ask them what they think about it. And finally, here is a good one. Another good one. Think of a person who's already achieved your desired goal and ask yourself, what mindset must they have in order to be that successful person? And as you start asking yourself these questions, you'll be surprised at the answers that start coming to mind that you can start to implement immediately to change your mind and begin changing your life. Because listen, a limiting belief is neither right or wrong. It just is. And when you spend your time fussing and fighting about what is, you're wasting valuable time. Remember, limiting beliefs were created to keep you safe. And we may talk about that in a future edition of these tips. And yet, if it no longer works for you as a responsible adult, you've got the ability to discover what that is and change it. Find out these limiting thoughts as you keep in mind, why would this have been created to keep me safe? What was it created to keep me safe from? And when you answer that question, then you're a long ways gone a long ways towards changing that idea. Maxwell Maltz says, within you right now is the power to do things you never dreamed possible. This power becomes available to you just as soon as you change your beliefs. So to help you do that, that's why I'm creating all of these videos training for you. And if I can be of assistance in any other way, make sure you schedule a private session with me. You can do that on my website. Take care. Doug O, your Success Accelerator. I'll see you soon.